Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the City of New Carrollton Council meeting. Monday, May 18th. Lincoln said he has some severe traffic and he told me to go ahead without him. But he may be here any minute. He may be here a little bit later, but he said to go ahead without him. So I'm going to start with residents' concerns. We have residents in the audience and we have online, Maisha.
The Craig has his hand up.
Who does?
Craig.
Okay.
You guys have one of these over by you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're working. We're all good. Great. Can we hear you? Can you hear us?
Having a little trouble hearing you. Can you hear me okay?
Got you now. Go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor and council members.
Oh, no. We have someone going.
We have somebody already.
Virtual.
Craig, you have the floor.
I guess
He got himself muted.
he's having a hard time. He said the audio.
Okay.
Okay. I am having a little trouble hearing you. Is it my turn to speak?
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right. Gotcha. This is Craig McLean, 5709 85th Avenue. Just want to say fees and fines are one of the last things we do before we adopt a budget. And consequently, they have a tendency to be rushed and overlooked. Please don't take offense here. I'm not pointing fingers. Budget adoption is a long assembly line process every year, but this is just how it tends to turn out where fees and fines are concerned. But this year it's turned out a little differently. We won't finalize the budget until after BRC gives us their study results. That means additional time spent on fees and fines now will not slow down the adoption process. As a result, for once, we have the opportunity to stop and give fees and fines some careful consideration. The municipal governments across the country have many different rationalizations for imposing fees and fines upon their residents, who, let's remember, are the very families that have all paid the taxes to create and sustain those governments in the first place. Now, certainly, if a resident wants to do something that will require the government to spend more money, like having to pay police overtime because they want to stage some public event, then the government should require that resident to pay a fee to cover such additional costs. And certainly if a resident does something to endanger the rest of us or to interfere with our enjoyment of our property, then the government should attempt to modify that behavior by imposing fines. And the potency of our behavior modification should be in strict proportion to the extent they endanger or interfere with us. These are the only defensible justifications for imposing fees and fines on our taxpayers. But if you examine our fees and fine schedule, you'll find many instances where fees have crept into it over the decades that have nothing to do with any service the city actually provides in return. And you'll find that fines that have no logical links to any specific endangerment or interference and share no logic that keeps them in line with the relative severity of the offense are also in there. Now, is that any way for our city to repay the residents for establishing and funding it? I would say no. Allowing such things to persist in our code year after year creates in the resident's mind, justified or not, the impression of imperious seizing of family funds by an uncaring municipal apparatus. In this budget proposal, at a time when each family's costs are going up every day, there's vigorous support for charity. Now, as an adjunct to giving, an equally valid way to help our residents is to reduce the amount the city takes from family finances in the form of fees or fines, especially when upon investigation it turns out that they're either unnecessarily high or they actually lack any real justification at all. Now that you have the time for once, I urge you to carry out that investigation. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Craig. Right about in 3 minutes. Your
I'm
turn, young
Shirley
lady.
Brown.
Shirley Brown, welcome this evening.
I live at 6105 85th Avenue.
Mhm.
And I want to echo off of what Mr. Craig just mentioned about the fees and fines. I too believe that more investigation needs to be done. This is a rush process and it adds an extra burden upon the residents of New Carrollton. And frankly, the fees and fines currently as they stand should remain as is. So unless there's other better justification as to why this should be changed, please let the residents know. But I urge you to rethink this and keep the fees and fines as they are on the books currently. Thank you.
Anyone else in the audience want to? Welcome, Michelle.
Thank you. Good, glad to be here. Mine will be quick. Although I agree with everything that Craig said earlier, I actually am here to support the proposal put forth by Councilwoman Malave. And one of the reasons is I think extending amnesty to our residents is a great idea. Times are tough. Times are really tough. People are obsessed with what they're paying, what's going out of their pocketbooks, whatever. I think that if we are gracious enough to give folks an opportunity to straighten out what they owe with the city, and then instead of when we do start up with the fees and penalties, having them not double in 15 days, but instead have a 30-day period as you propose is an excellent idea. So I am wholeheartedly support your proposal and hope the rest of the council will consider it.
Thank you, Michelle.
You're very welcome.
Anybody else want to address the council? Nobody online?
It's
Time for council announcements. So I'm going to go to the podium. Just want to mention that I read in the Post, and it was a little late to get the information, that one of our residents since 1965 passed away in February, Shirley Levy. I have the obituary within the Post yesterday if you'd like to read it. And I knew the family well because her husband Stan used to stop and chat with me when I jogged down Adrian Street. And her son Mark was a regular visitor in my home when my kids were young. He'd stop in and talk with us about city politics before I was ever in any capacity. And Shirley passed away. This was in the obituaries in the Post yesterday. The services were today, so none of us really had much time to plan for anything. And the services were the 15th. Today's 18th. The burial was today. So I hope the city, on behalf of the council, I express condolences to the Levy family and hope the city will consider Shirley. She was a longtime resident, 1965. And Mark attended one of our town halls, as those of you who are there may remember. And he said, I'm here celebrating my mother's 90th birthday on that Saturday. So she passed away at age 90. So, thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I will have I'm clumsy. I'm working on it. I have an announcement and I will have a flyer that I'll make sure gets into the constant contact and on my socials. But I am hosting a meet and greet with the folks that are running for District 22 House and Senate at my home on May 30th at 10 a.m. This may seem like a partisan announcement, but we only have Democrats running in District 22. We do not have Republicans running in District 22. So Senator Washington, Delegate Ashanti Martinez, candidate Tracy Gant, who is the current, actually outgoing mayor of Edmonston. She was the mayor of Edmonston, and she has departed that seat in an effort to elevate her service to Annapolis. And Molly McKee Seabrook will be at my house, and it's an open house, little brunch. There'll be some light fare, an opportunity for you to liaise and get to meet the folks who will be representing us in Annapolis. But there's no one running against them. There's one other candidate running for delegate, but those are the four that I've chosen to run together. And so that is May 30th at 10 a.m. It's a Saturday morning. Have some bagels with me, get to meet Senator Washington and the three delegates seeking to represent us here in District 22.
Thank you, Brianna. All right, let's move on to the.
Just one more.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mayor.
Just real quick, I had, some residents that called about, the fees and the fine. And what they were saying that we have to remember, the fees and the fines were not set to make money, it was set to change, behaviors and to enhance public safety. Some of the fees, like the automated, fees, those were set by the state. So that's not even something that we can decrease. Those $40 fees were set by the state. And Lauren will continue to enable the wrong behavior, because people will say, if I can continue to do something, then I'll just pay the smaller fee and it doesn't change the behavior, doesn't change the public safety. And on behalf of the city, we did do a proclamation for the Levy family, because they've been living here for a long time. And Mark came by and picked it up. We had another engagement at Greenbelt today, so I was unable to go to the funeral and actually read it, but he does have a copy. Thank you.
Okay, now it looks like we're getting ahead of ourselves, but the next thing on the agenda is a public hearing on the scheduled fees. I've heard from Craig and Michelle and from Shirley and from the mayor. Does anyone else want to address fees right now in this public hearing?
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, is there a way to answer the question? Because we don't even know what the fees are before we,
They're in the packet.
I know, but everybody doesn't have a packet. Everybody,
It's online.
okay, again, we're assuming that everybody can go online. Everybody does it. Maybe an explanation of them. I mean, I have them, but
This is a little out of order and I want Agnelli to hear what you're saying, but it is in the budget package every year too. So it's printed, people can get it and it's publicly available, but you're right. Most people don't look at it and it's not one page, it's a lot. And the details are somewhat stunning at times where you see it doubles and that kind of thing. And the fees get very high. And that's open for discussion in the council. And I hope to approach this, not tonight, but we have, as Craig pointed out, we're gonna have a little more time since the BRC compensation study will have a huge impact on what we do with the budget. And that's June the 8th. So after June the 8th, we can, up until June the 8th and after June the 8th, we can address fees. And I'm hoping, as I spoke with Councilmember Malavi, that we will do it at a high level with this council. Councilmember Malavi has done a great deal of detail work, a lot of which I appreciate, and I think it raises a lot of concerns and good questions. We as a council need to, as always, it's just bad practice to edit by committee. You don't sit here and say, oh, this one, we will read it, we will see what we like, and we'll vote on a package. So that sort of answers that question. And you're going to hear from Councilmember Malavi tonight too. So if you have anything else, go to the podium so she can hear you.
Good evening, Cynthia Pole, Sweet Long Grass Drive. So I have looked at, what is being proposed as the fees. Now, as I understand it, none of the state regulated fees are even being questioned about changes, but those fees that do not impact citizen safety are those ones that we're suggesting or being suggested to be changed. For example, parking 6 inches from the curb or the 72-hour parking. If a fee is quadrupling and it has nothing to do with safety issues, there should be no reason to penalize citizens for that. So,
Mr. Chair, I'm sorry to interrupt. Fees and fines are two distinct different things. And they're two different
We're just on
distinct
fees right
items.
now.
So I just don't want to conflate them because then
oh, you're just on fees
we're just
right
on
now.
fees right
Okay,
And we're
now.
gonna have a
And so,
public hearing on
yeah,
fines. in a
Okay.
minute.
yeah. So, yeah, I just don't want us to miss anything in this discussion.
Part order point is that prior to me raising this issue, the document the city put forth was a combined
Yes.
schedule of fees and fines.
Yes.
This is the first time they're actually separating it.
Certainly, but fees are things that someone is seeking to do and has to pay for.
Mhm.
Fines are consequences for actions taken.
Okay,
And so those are two different things. Not everyone is, if you don't do anything wrong, you're never going to be assessed a fine.
Right.
But you may have to incur a fee
Right.
if you are seeking to do something.
Okay.
So I think it's really important that we
Okay.
have them as two separate conversations.
Right.
Anyone else want to address this on fees?
Yeah.
Fees. You have to pay a fee when you get a building permit. Okay.
Right.
Yeah, that's different.
Yeah.
There are people who will never pay a
Um,
fine in their lives.
Right.
Adopting the schedule of fees for 27. We have 10 minutes for discussion here. I will go down the line. Now I'll start with Cynthia so I don't miss her. Do you have any comments on the schedule of fees you would like to add to this conversation?
The problem I had with it when it first came to me, the first reason she said she wanted to do it because she was gonna be impacted, and I had a problem.
I'm sorry, could you say that again? I could hardly
When
hear
she
you.
first sent it out to us.
Who's she?
Agnelli sent it out and she said she incurred a fine for being more than 6 inches away from the curb and she couldn't see where that was any
Again,
Oh,
public safety. But it was, but that's a fine. That's a fine.
Okay, okay. No, you all didn't tell.
Oh, sorry.
I know, you didn't know. You know, we did it. And that kind of upset me. It's like, we say we're doing the best for the sick. And putting these fees, some of these fees are high for a reason. Because I have watched some of the things going on around here where people are sliding and doing things without paying the fees, like, as you said, putting up houses, and down putting concrete in their yard. And a lot of them doesn't even get the fees or anything because they do it on the weekend. And unless you live in that neighborhood, like you all know, when you live in your neighborhood, you see what they're doing on the weekend. And by the time you get ready to call us, I don't think we would go back and give them a fine or put a cease and desist. And that's the thing I think we need to be more on our guard of changing the rules for code enforcement to go out here and watch what's going on. So that was all I had to say about this.
Fees, right? Lincoln, anything on fees?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A few questions. I noticed that several items on the list were highlighted in yellow. Is that because those are the ones that are being changed and or amended? Okay, very good. $600 for a copy of the code, $160 for binder and tabs. Has anyone ever actually requested the whole code book from the city of New Carrollton?
So that's new because of the new company that we're dealing with. And so that is a fee that they charge, not us.
Okay, but to your knowledge, no one has ever come and
But
said.
no
that we
one is,
want the
no,
whole
because most
code
people
book.
just go online.
That's what I think. So that, and then I'm sorry, I'm gonna work my way down on this. Chapter 41, building construction, section 41-1. The cost of construction, those are all new to, I noticed you have 0 to 5,000.
So we broke it out because it wasn't, I believe it was 0 to 30,000 was, one fee. And so that was the problem as we started to work with different people. Can't hear me.
You want this?
Oh. I saw her face looking at me. This year, because of different residents coming to the front window and us looking at projects, it was like, oh my goodness, we're charging them $300 for a $1,000 project. This is crazy. And so then that's when Code and I talked about actually breaking it out by dollar amount. So that's why that's like that.
Very good. Thank you for that explanation, Madam City Manager. I appreciate it. The next point is section 47-5, ballot harvesting. To Councilmember Adina's point, that is a fine and not a fee, correct? And should be moved from the fee schedule to the fine schedule?
Okay.
Yes,
There's a few of them.
yes, there's a few.
That's the first one that I caught. Maybe
Yes.
more, maybe Councilmember Adina will point out some more as we go through our list.
And that was something that Caitlin had added because of legislation that you all passed last
Yeah.
year. Yes.
Okay, so that one will be moved. What is an example, and I know that Public Works is not here, but chapter 63, recycling and refuse, section 63-4. when it says collection of special bulky items, is that like tires? What are they talking about?
It's something that's actually defined on our website, what bulky items are. And I'll have to go back and look.
No worries.
It's in the code,
I'll
yeah.
look
but
at it.
it's-
I'll look at
yeah.
it. Don't worry about it. I'll look at it.
And we've never charged, just so.
Oh, okay, good to know. Section 66 no, actually it's right above that. The porta potty, 30 days. I noticed that's $100 fine or fee.
Fee, yes.
See, yes.
Let's keep them straight. Thank you so much. Does it go up above the 30-day window? Or is it $100 no matter?
It stays $100.
And
And it's so that people don't just keep it out there. They have to keep coming and applying for a new.
Gotcha. Chapter 75 licenses. Mobile vendor licenses annually, $120. Is that for food trucks specifically?
That is for, yes, food trucks.
And
Really, it's only nice.
one last one, chapter 130 zoning, section 130-6. The very last line, $60 divided by 3, public notice sign posted. So does that mean it's $20 per sign?
So they have to put up 3 signs, I believe.
Michelle.
That's for the variance committee. They have signs for the variance, don't they?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, so that's the requirement.
Thank you for answering my questions, Madam City Manager. I have no further questions.
All right, Brianna.
So it's just, Lincoln pointed out one, but there was a couple more, that are really fines and not really fees. All the ones related to running for elected office, so failure to file a financial statement is really kind of a fine, not a fee. Because you don't have to pay anything to run for office in the city, but if you don't, adhere to these, requirements, then you are fined more or less. Failure to file a timely, like anything that's like failure to, I think should be moved to the fines. I think that, there was the prohibited smoking in public, that is a fine. That is only for parks. That's, you can do whatever you want in your house, but, not in public parks. I don't have any, issues with the fees that are being levied. I do like that it's been broken down by the cost of the construction, because I think that that also falls in line with the staff time to review, right? So if you're building a ramp, it's not going to take code enforcement that long, but if you're building an addition to your home, then it's going to take more man hours, thus the fee being higher makes more sense to me. The fees should be compensating in part, not in whole, for the staff time necessary to administer whatever it is that you're seeking to do. But yeah, that's the only, I don't have an issue with the dollar amounts at all for fees. I just want to make sure that we're not mixing the conversations up of fees and fines.
Okay, and I'll just ask Maisha, since she mentioned the financial disclosure statements, Caitlin was handling those. Caitlin's not here. Does that fall on you?
That will fall on me.
What is the deadline? Because I have it on my desk.
I'll have to look because I know some people had actually already come in and turned theirs in. So I'm digging through trying to figure out what's heads
Okay,
up right now.
okay, we can send them to you, or we can send them,
You
they
can
have to
send
be
them.
signed, or they can be electronic?
I
I think you gotta sign them notary, don't you? I can find out later. That's not-
have to go back and look.
Yeah,
let me
I
check.
think
You have to be
They
notarized.
have to be notarized.
Okay, so you
Okay.
gotta come up there and get it done. Okay. Agnelli, your turn.
Well, part of this confusion of schedule of fees and fines is because until I raised this, there was one document that got everything aggregated and a whole bunch of fines never publicly posted, at least since 2014. So my main proposal, I'm going to save it for when we get to fines. So this is kind of the back end. There is a number of fees that I am proposing to lower for the benefit of the residents, trying to balance what it costs the city to provide a service, but also see what can we do to enhance services or utilization. So one of the examples Jasmine, can you put the table on the screen? So for example, on mobile business licenses and permits, I believe it went up to 150. And I'm proposing that the business license can go up and the mobile vendor licenses for smaller businesses to encourage them to participate or do business in the city go down to $100, and businesses go to up to $200. Specifically here on the use of the municipal center, I'm really happy hearing that they're being used by the community, whether residents or not, because I saw it in the monthly administration report. So what I'm proposing is that the cost of the use of the municipal center for residents, like Mr. Craig McLean said, that already pay the taxes, let's lower it to $100 per hour while keeping the use of the facilities for non-residents to $150. Then there's a few others. I'm working on creating, I already drafted it, but it still has too many comments and things that need to clarify. So I didn't want to put a draft into the public record, but it will be a combined schedule of fees, fines, and penalties that the city council would review and approve. And a resident can go to one place and find everything clearly labeled. So that's also part of the proposal, one document that identifies everything. That's the general proposal for fees.
Okay,
When we get to fines, I'll do.
let's move on. I didn't remind people in the beginning that, at 8:30, we have Tool Design doing a presentation. So I have 1 hour to get to the rest of these items. So let's keep our thoughts concise. And we're gonna go now. I have nothing to add to fees. A lot was said there. And a lot I agree with, and some of it I want to see more developed. The public hearing on fines. Now we're on fines, and I have 5 minutes for this, so 5 people can speak for a minute. Anybody want to talk about fines? Not, we'll go right to what the council has to say, and I'll go down the line again, and I'll start with Cynthia to see if she has any other comments on. You want to present that first? All right, go ahead and do that.
Presenting a proposal to review city mandated fees, fines, and penalties as part of the fiscal year 2027 budget process. This proposal is rooted in 2 priorities: easing the financial burden on our residents during a period of high inflation, and restoring proper city council oversight of all fees, fines, and penalties as required by our city code. Over the past several weeks, I've reviewed the city code, chapter 10, vehicles and traffic, and engaged Chief Alston and the city manager in several conversations. What I found was deeply concerning. Many fines, such as parking violations, traffic control device violations, and speed monitoring program fines, have not been revised since 2014, according to the date in the document provided to me. More importantly, they have not been reviewed or approved by the city council in at least 12 years.
I'm just gonna ask for a small point of order. Can we get to the numbers because we don't have a lot of time? Like the legislative history of it is not as relevant.
Well,
as let's
it's
get
my
to it.
proposal, and the council chair gave me a lot of time.
I understand, but all of us get time, so.
In practice, fines and penalties have been imposed without council oversight. First, I'm proposing to reduce the amount of certain fines and fees, especially where the penalty does not match the severity or safety impact of the violation. Second, eliminate the current practice of doubling fines after 14 days and redoubling after 30 days. Instead, I propose a flat $25 late fee for fines paid between day 31 and day 45. Third, at day 45, unpaid accounts will be referred to the collection agency at which point the agency approval collection fee would apply. When reviewing the fine schedule, I asked a simple question: which violations actually pose the greatest risk to resident safety? For example, speeding 12 to 15 miles over the limit carries a $40 speed camera fine. Lesser violations should not exceed the amount. That's where I'm proposing lowering some of the parking violations, like the 6 inches from the curb, the 72 hours. And go back to the first page, Jasmine. Parking on the sidewalk. Parking within 20 feet from the crosswalk, 6 inches from the curb, unattended vehicle with engine running, and parking over 72 hours in the same place. I'm proposing to be lowered from $60 or $65 to $40. There are other instances where there is inconsistency in the fees applied. For example, a vehicle parked on the lawn on the current fine schedule is $250, but prohibited parking on unpaved areas, it's $60. My lawn is an unpaved area. I'm proposing that those be comparable and be $60, lowering one from $250. The release of an impounded vehicle, again, when someone has an impounded vehicle, besides having to pay the release to the city police, they have to go to the impound lot and pay another penalties there. So this is a way that we could help the residents. Again, a fine is never in a family budget. When a fine comes in the mail surprise, or you get a ticket in your car, that's an impact to your household budget that you want planned. And the fact that these fines double in 14 days and quadruple in 30 days make it really hard to get out of the hole. A $60 fine becomes $240 before your next paycheck. And that's not surprising then that we had such a large number of uncollected tickets, because they have grown so much with fines that the police department came to us and presented the large number of uncollected debts, and the city council approved a collection agency. But somehow in all that conversation, I never realized how the fines were doubling and tripling. So
Okay, let's,
let me finish, almost there. Since there is a collection agency contract in place,
There isn't.
and
You approved it already?
there can,
Sorry, I didn't believe that we had.
go ahead, Agnelli, but we gotta move on.
okay, so since there's a collection agency contract in place and residents accounts are going to be referred to collection, I am proposing a 30-day amnesty where everybody that has an all account would get a notice and have the opportunity to pay the original fine before it goes to the collection agency, because then they would be responsible for the original fine, the quadrupling of penalties, and the collection agency.
Okay, Agnelli, we're gonna stop. No, we're gonna stop. Okay.
I will have a clean proposed
Okay.
schedule for further discussion with the minutia details.
And the rest of the council, and Agnelli, did ask me, but I didn't want to get into that much detail tonight. I wanted a higher level, assessment of what you think these fines are doing. So, Brianna, go ahead, please.
I just wanted to have the question posed to the city attorney if we're permitted to adopt different fine schedules for residents versus non-residents, because I like a lot of Councilor Malave's ideas, but I really don't care. If you don't live here, I don't really have that much empathy for you. If you're parking illegally here, I want you to be fined to the full extent of the law. But if you do live here, I am definitely more interested in exercising compassion. So I don't know if that's legal for us to do. The mayor's shaking her head no, but if we can find out, I would definitely be much more open to adopting most of Councilmember Malave's ideas, because I think they're good ones. But at the same time, fines are things no one budgets for, but fines are things no one has to get. You know, I don't know. I've lived here 13 years. I've never been assessed a fine. Councilmember Lashley, you've lived here as a child and as an adult. Have you ever been assessed a parking fine?
I have not.
So if you're in compliance with the law, these are things that are not going to happen to you. And so this is not exactly being compassionate to residents. This is being compassionate to people who are breaking the law. And, you know, I can see certain things, like, for instance, I was in strong support of eliminating the fine for car covers because I didn't see any public good for that. And that's why we eliminated that from the code. But some of these things, the potential side effect is hard to see. Parking 6 inches from the curb, if you're 6 inches on the dot, that's probably not a big deal. If you're 42 inches from the curb, there's no difference in the fine. And if you're 42 inches from the curb, you're definitely going to cause an accident. And so, and people do that. Trust and believe. People park where you can walk 2 people in between the car and the sidewalk. Prince George's County had to come collect a dead animal from my house today, and they were parked in the middle of the street with a giant truck. So I don't, you know, we're not going to assess a fine to Prince George's County Animal Control, but I think that, like, if we're trying to deter behavior, giving amnesty is not necessarily the best way to do that. I'm curious, Maisha, I don't know if you would know this off the top of your head or if you could find this number quickly. When we did the amnesty under Mayor Dodro, did we collect a lot of money?
From my understanding, yes, but I'd have to get back to you and have a number for you on Wednesday.
If we did collect a lot of money, I would definitely be open to having a short-term amnesty program. I didn't know that we had finalized that contract, so I'm glad to hear that we did with the collection agency. I knew that we had passed legislation to do it, but I didn't know we had finalized it. But I definitely would be open to a short-term amnesty if it was a successful thing. But we did do that for a year of Mayor Dodro's administration. And so I don't know if it's necessarily going to do the thing that we thought it was going to do.
And I do want to make a comment about the 6 inches from the curb, because I keep hearing it, and we even talked about it last week. Everybody thinks of it like, oh my goodness, it's 6 inches from the curb. But the problem is, because I guess I've gotten lots of calls from the fire chief.
Yes, that's the problem.
And the problem is when there's a fire and the fire trucks are coming down the road, and some of our streets are so narrow that if someone is 6 inches on this side and 6 inches from this side, and they're trying to bring a fire truck down the street, he said they've had to actually just sideswipe cars trying to get to fires. And
That
so,
happens in Baltimore all the time.
yeah, so I do want to, when you hear just 6 inches, it's like, yeah, okay, what's the big deal? But it is a big deal when you're talking about narrow streets.
Yeah, that's the thing. So, like, I know some of these things look more innocuous than others. I know also the speeding things are things that we can't control. Parking is the thing we can control. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I am interested in potentially having different fees and fines for residents versus non-residents, because the cars that are parked illegally in front of my house every single day that I've lived here for 13 years don't have Maryland plates. And so I'm not interested in helping those people. I would like them to move their cars and get the hell off my block and stay the hell off my block. And so if I could double those fines on Virginia residents, I would gladly do so. That's what I gotta say.
Okay. Lincoln, I hope you don't have a long list.
No, Mr. Chair, my comments are fairly straight to the point. To me, although I'm in agreement with much of what Councilmember Malave proposed, the bigger issue, in my humble opinion, is the doubling and the quadrupling of the fines. The penalties. You can change it to $40 from $60, but if it still doubles in 14 days,
No, the
that's not going
proposal,
to.
the proposal would eliminate,
Okay,
they took it off, it's on the 3rd page.
okay.
Would eliminate the doubling in 14 days, would eliminate the quadrupling in 30 days, and then we'll have a flat late fee of $25 after day 30.
My apologies, I missed that.
And
Thank you very
then
much.
After day 45, collection agency.
Very good. And the only other comment I have, Mr. Chair, is that the commercial vehicles are going up in your proposal.
I didn't get a chance.
I know you haven't got a chance to explain everything, but those are how people make a living. And you charging them $150 from the 75 for a parked commercial vehicle, and then also a parking of a commercial vehicle from 75 to 150 as well. At some point in time, can you explain to me why that is? It doesn't have to be right now. That's all I have, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Yeah, I would rather it not be right now, but
Next
okay.
time.
And Cynthia?
Okay, I could understand her saying, take some of the things from $40 first offense and then going to $60, because I had kids in my neighborhood who walk to school, and when the car is parked, they're walking to school. Yeah, we have that problem a lot. Riding bicycles, they normally ride on the sidewalk. They gotta go out in the street. parking, in the crosswalks, we have a lot of trouble there. We have trouble with that, 'cause sometimes when you go to turn to get around them, you stop at the stop sign, then you gotta pull them up and look to see if anything's coming, because that car is parked over there. 6 inches from the curb, every time I think of something like that, I think of Cathedral Avenue. That street is that wide, and if everybody parked 6 inches from the curb, my little car wouldn't need to get down there. These are things that, they don't sound important to some people, but like fire department, even school buses. School buses can't get down the field. I was gonna buy a house there, and you know how you ride back at the, during the day and during the night looking? When I saw the way that street was parked, no. So I could see first offense, $40, doubling it then, but I can't see it lowering it down, because that's like saying, I'm gonna attack you in your hand. Make them understand, we're not gonna accept it.
How about the fact that a stop sign and speeding is less than blocking the sidewalk? That's my whole argument. It does not make sense in terms of safety. All violations.
Well, let's change that.
We don't have the ability to
We
change.
can't state.
We have to do something. We can't say it's okay to go 90 miles an hour, but you can park in the
can't
street.
change.
Right, but we can't justify having our kids walking in the street because their mom and dad didn't go 50 miles an hour straight down the street. I just, like I say, first offense, $40, I can see, but, doubling, making it go on to 30 days before doubles, I wouldn't have a problem with that, not at all. So if they get charged $60 instead of 15 days, get 30 days, but the thing is, you're doing wrong. And you need to be penalized for doing wrong. And that's the main thing I'm thinking. Because when I first moved here, my nephew came to visit me, and I was not aware of that was that, even though I was living in Service County. But I was in a cul-de-sac, and I'm saying, oh, no problem. Chief came and knocked on my door and claimed to me. And for the last 25 years, I have not parked on the sidewalk because of the children. We have lots of children in our cul-de-sac. They ride their bicycles, they goes, and they go out in the street, and go around park. It's not safe. Not safe. I'm finished.
Okay, thank you. And I have nothing to add to that conversation. It's been beaten. Let me look at the public hearing on
No.
constant yield. I'm sorry, I want to move to the public hearing constant yield. I want to explain to the audience that the constant yield, the yield is the amount of money we collect on the assessed values. And if we stay with constant yield, that yield will stay the same as the prior year. So if your assessed value goes up, our rate will change. It'll go lower so that the yield is the same. Constant rate means if we have a tax rate and we keep that rate and your assessed value goes up, you're going to pay more because you're paying a rate on a higher assessed value. The city will collect more money. So what this council is resolved to do, and I think we're all resolved to do this, we'll discuss it. And then you'll have time to comment on this now, is that we want to say the money coming in will be the same. When you get your assessments and your values may have gone up, we'll adjust the rate accordingly so that you pay the same taxes. Okay? That's the concept. So the council resolution here says we're going to adopt constant yield. We won't be collecting more money from you. And with that background, does anyone want to go to the podium and discuss constant rate versus constant yield?
Can we hear, I know, I apologize. Can I hear the explanation one more time, please?
Sure. The yield is what we collect in money.
Right.
And it's a fixed amount for the year.
Right.
If your assessed value goes up and we keep the rate the same, we'll collect more money the next year.
Right.
That's a constant rate.
Right.
The constant yield is that the money we get in the previous year will be the same as the money we get in the next year. And if your assessed value goes up, we would be collecting more because of the prior rate. We'll adjust the rate accordingly so that the dollars collected are the same, okay? Constant yield. The yield stays the same. And it's been debated and discussed in prior councils that we are making a statement that we're going to collect the same money, so we don't, and the city needs more money, cost of livings and expenses. We're holding it. That's the council's commitment to the residents to not raise taxes on you using constant yield, okay?
Right.
Does that help?
Right.
Okay. Anybody want to comment on that? And if not, I'll see what the council has to say. I think
Can
we
I
have.
comment without walking to the podium?
Well, you need Agnolia to hear you.
Oh,
Here you go.
Yeah.
Because you need it. That sound, not raising the rate always sounds like a good idea. But inevitably, as you just pointed out, rates, your costs, the city's costs are going up like everybody else's. I think it's unrealistic in today's world to think that we are going to keep people's property tax at a constant yield, thank you, at a constant yield when we know what's going on around us. You've got tariffs now, you've got so many things that are having an impact on municipal costs. I don't think we should get crazy with raising rates, but I, for one, and I know I'm probably one of the lone people, am a strong believer in you get what you pay for. And if you don't, after time, raise those rates a little bit, you're going to erode the services that the city provides and the resources that are available through the city. Just a thought.
And we would not be raising rates. We would be allowing the higher assessed values to generate more revenue for the city. If the assessed values went down, our rates would actually go up, sweetie, to keep the constant yield, okay?
Oh.
See? We've been keeping the constant yield, okay?
Hold
Now,
on, there's
my
another resident.
So I wanted to just explain, we've had constant yield since FY 21. So that means in FY 27, oh, sorry. So in FY 27, we're yielding the same revenue that we did back in FY 21. So for a few years, we did have a constant rate. We kept the same tax rate year after year. But then FY 21, we went back to constant yield. So in FY 27, even though things have gone like this, we have the same revenue since FY 21.
that's tax revenue.
Yes.
We have other sources of revenue. Okay.
So I understand both, and I think that a compromise here would be to maintain a constant yield periodically, and then move to a resolution to change the rate every, at a different intervals of years, right? So that could be 5, 7, 10, whichever, so that there can be an accounting for a higher standard of living, whatever changes are happening in the economy. I'm sure that it changed in 2021 and, with COVID, a lot of people were suffering fiscally. So now that we're, out of that, although we're in a new mess of circumstances, we can reassess. So I'm here for a constant reassessment, within a responsible amount of time. I think, like tax code changes every few years. I think that it would be responsible to have something that's more of a hybrid approach of a constant yield for a shorter amount of time, and then we reassess the rate. And then once that rate is assessed, it goes back into a constant yield for that next interval of time.
Makes sense.
Thank you. The intervals are 1 year. We set it, we tell the county for the year, and it's for 1 year.
Or for 5,
No, it has to be one.
Oh, okay. All right. I think we'll move into,
Oh, put the thing by her.
Yeah,
Oh,
we'll do
sorry.
that.
Oh,
Go ahead.
between her and the mayor, so.
Thank you.
we have a resolution, and we just heard a couple of people tell us we might want to consider alternatives. Let me hear your thoughts after listening to the public hearing. Cynthia, constant rate or constant yield?
I understand what everybody's saying, but the thing that crossed my mind is that 1 year I get my house appraised and it's this high. Interest rates go up and the appraisal kind of goes down a little bit. And so if he says we're gonna raise taxes next year and it goes down, that means I'm not gonna pay as much. But if it goes up, I'm gonna pay more. And then you have some houses here in Carlton, they live next door to a little rambler with 2 bedrooms and bathroom. Their house got 5 bedrooms and everything in it. So they should be paying more than this one. But right now we have it equal. How can we keep it kind of sort of level so that we aren't overpaying or underpaying?
Okay. I can't answer that, but Lincoln, you want to try?
I can't answer that either, Mr. Chair, but I can tell you what I was thinking. I would like to stick with constant yield. And maybe this will be the last year we do it, and we reassess where we are next year at this time. Because to everyone's point, expenses are increasing. This is staying the same. But we've already discussed this, and I think given the current situation where the economy is right now, constant yield is the best way forward. I do have a quick question. That is the rate for the city.
Mhm.
The county and the state will still assess at the higher level, correct?
And they use a constant rate.
Okay. So yes, definitely constant yield, because you're gonna pay more to the county and the state anyway. I have no further questions.
Drop the mic, drop the mic.
That was nice.
Brianna,
How do I follow that now? I've actually always conflicted on this. I was the sole vote for raising taxes in fiscal year 25. And I will probably vote against this knowing that it's going to pass. I'm very conflicted because I definitely am feeling the pain at the pump, in the grocery store, in the clothes, and every other thing that you could possibly purchase. The Starbucks today, 3 drinks and 2 cake pops, $31. I couldn't believe it. However, Ms. Frisbee is right. And just to give a basic example of things that we have to buy every year. Every year, the city has to buy salt to salt the streets, right? Salt in 2019 or in 2020 was less than it is now. But we're not budgeting more for it because we're not collecting in proportion to the inflation that we're experiencing. And so we are having to do more with less, and that causes serious financial constraints. Heaven forbid there need to be an emergency where we have to make purchases that are subject to these tariffs and all these other things that have occurred that didn't exist in 2021. And also they're just things that we have here that we just didn't have, or we didn't have opened up. We were doing our entire city budget on an Excel spreadsheet in 2021, which is absolutely outrageous. And so I will probably vote against this, knowing that it will pass as a protest, just because I think it's bad fiscal policy. However, I totally understand the mayor and everyone who's going to vote for it. I have no judgment whatsoever because people are hurting, and I don't want to raise taxes on people in this terrible economy that we're living in right now.
that's correct. Constant rate, constant yield.
This is the first time I've had to think about this as a council member. As a resident, no one likes their taxes to be raised. And so it seems like, no, I don't want to be the bill. As a council member, I've been conflicted, and I was missing that piece of information. How long have we had constant yield? Since 2021. My goodness, fiscal 27. You came to us asking for more money because so many things were more expensive than we budgeted. Janitorial supplies, office supplies, all those kinds of things are costing more money. Health insurance. So how can the city continue to provide the level of service that is expected and it's committed to if it's limiting our ability to have the income in order to provide an excellent level of service? So we are only hurting ourselves in the long run by next year, more budget amendments because of cost overruns that could not be forecasted. And we were limited in terms of income. And so no politician wants to say, I'm going to increase your taxes. For Councilmember Arena, I'm going to vote with you against constant shield because it's not serving the city in the long term. And maybe the other council members will have time to ponder. And when this council comes to make a decision in fiscal 2080, they might be more inclined to reconsider, but I will oppose constant yield.
Okay, Maisha, we're not ready to vote on this tonight, it sounds like, but we're not planning to do that anyway.
Yeah.
You will have to vote on it on Wednesday.
On Wednesday,
because I
okay.
have to give the
Oh,
right
to the county.
Can you
Yeah.
give us an estimate of what the difference would be, or you really can't? Do you have assessed values? Do you know what the constant rate versus
so
constant yield would be?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't think you can change the rate as of now. I gotta go back and, yeah, because if we were, back to my when I was here before, if we were changing the rate, we would have had to advertise that back in,
Oh,
April
yes.
in the newspapers. I know some things have changed, so now I have to, because I didn't even know this was going to be a conversation. I have to read up on this constant yield article to see what, I know my prior life, yes, we would have had to advertise it in the paper in April. So this may be a conversation, if you all are seriously want to entertaining it, that we can talk about it for FY28. But I'll have an answer for you on Wednesday.
Okay, and just to put it in context, the property taxes in our annual report are 6.6 million and our revenues, and our total revenues are 14 million. So it's less than half the revenues. So to say that property taxes are the only source that covers increases is not necessarily a full statement. There's a lot of other things going on here, a lot of moving parts. But you'll have an answer for us on Wednesday before we vote. You can write the resolution both ways, or we can edit the resolution if we decide to go constant rate. And we should have a number, right?
Yes.
See what the difference is. Okay.
Mr. Chair and Maisha, if it makes it easier for you, I was contemplating either voting no or abstaining. So if abstaining makes it easier because I don't can't foresee enough votes changing, and that I think constant yield is still going to be the ultimate outcome, I'm happy to do that. Last year I voted for constant yield. The first year I was council chair, I didn't. So I'm very conflicted, but whatever makes it easier for us to accomplish the goal, I'm willing to bend
I'll
for
read
that.
state legislation.
Thank you.
Well, the final comment is that it's the property taxes are less than half our revenue. And it's our statement to you residents, if we do constant yield, that we're trying to control what we take in property taxes and lessen the burden on you. But it was mentioned as part of this conversation too, that people still say, why are my taxes going up? Well, the county's raising them.
Yes.
And you don't notice that much difference. And if we do constant rate versus constant yield, and it's $20 difference in your tax bill, that's going to be dwarfed by what the county does to you. So we're contributing to it. So to put in context, I am willing to change my vote if we think that's best for the city. And I'm glad to hear from people here tonight. See it the other way. So we'll see on Wednesday night. We will contemplate. Let's see, 2606, repealing resolution 2606. I think this is item 9. I think we discussed this, and the last time we did, we said we wanted to wait on BRC. Now BRC is rapidly approaching. It's June the 8th, and then we'll have some information on compensation. And we have 3 council resolutions when we were alerted to some of the compensation issues. And we said, we want to hold off until we get a compensation study. So I think this is putting the cart before the horse, but I will let the council speak. But this is a resolution saying we will repeal our resolution. And we already did repeal it last week when we had a vote for someone who left the city. I think it's fair to say that we could modify this so that when there's a severance, we would allow this to happen. But to adjust things among active employees line items, we were unanimous resolved against that. So I'll start with Agnelli.
You gotta.
Start with Maisha.
Yes, Maisha has,
Okay,
I think she has the same
So
question.
this is because of the fact of what happened last Monday.
Uh-huh.
The budget amendment. So when I spoke to Jason, because there was a question, I can't remember who raised it,
Mhm.
on because of this legislation that was prior done, could we legally do it? Jason said, yes, you can legally do it, but it's cleaner so that people don't have to go back and do a lot of research. So that's what this is here.
Yeah, that was the question that Councilmember Malave made, that I also had the same question. And since we're going to be in the same boat with Madam City Manager in about 5 minutes, I think it might be worth entertaining modifying legislation just to address Mr. Barclay's exit and whatever resolutions may be employed for Ms. Williams.
Okay, no, Agnelli. Thank you, Brianna. Agnelli?
I read it and I missed that point, that it was addressing only one situation, Barclay, and not the city manager position also.
I don't know if
It does
Okay.
both.
it does both.
And
Okay.
so I asked Mr. Rosenberg if we needed to put the city manager on the agenda. He said,
I have it in my points for when we head to the administration, but I would then propose we amend that resolution to address both department head salaries that were covered under the initial
Mhm.
legislation.
And that is not what this resolution does, but go ahead, Lincoln. This
Yes.
resolution repeals the whole thing. Go ahead.
This resolution appeals the whole thing. And we would need to pass this to ensure we cover whatever we would have incurred from Mr. Barclay and possibly Madam City Manager.
No, we could modify it.
Yes, we can amend it. Yeah, that's what I'm proposing. We amend it.
Let's amend it.
Okay, so that's 3 amending, Cynthia? Okay. I'd amend it, so do you want to discuss further, you want to move on? Okay, let's move on. The stop sign enforcement program, I have 10 minutes in this. We're getting close on this, from what I hear, and the implementation date, Madam Mayor, Maisha, do you know?
So we had to have the public hearing, which we had, the end of April. And so this was the legislation that you all had prior passed, but this had to come after the public hearing. And so we had to void that legislation, have the public hearing, and then bring this back. So that's what this is doing.
Cynthia, I'll start with you. Do you want stop signs? Cameras? We have the signs. You do?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a yes. Lincoln
Yes.
and Brianna.
Yes.
Which Brianna didn't need to ask.
I have a proposal to amend section 3 of the resolution. Because section 3 refers to the program purpose and compliance. And I would like for this to address that, just as the goal of the speed camera program strives to save lives, prevent injuries, and improve the quality of life in the community by reducing the incidence of speed-related crashes and their associated human and economic costs. That's from the budget book, public safety, speed enforcement mission. And so I would like for this to repeat that sentiment that we're not doing this to generate revenue, but for the betterment of quality of life and safety. Just copy the language from the mission on speed enforcement.
It says sort of the same thing in the whereas, which is usually where that language is to be found. Because the language in section 3 is kind of boilerplate, where the whereas says it's the 6th whereas the city of New Carrollton is committed to ensuring the health and safety of its residents, pedestrians, and motorists by promoting compliance with traffic laws. Whereas failure to obey stop signs poses a significant risk to public safety, leading to potential injuries, accidents, fatalities. So I think that that's covered. Where this section 3 is really more about what is the purpose of this? You know, get people to stop. That's it. Whereas I think the other part, I said whereas twice in one sentence. This is bad, but I think the whereas kind of covers that. I don't know that we need to amend it.
Okay, it sounds like 4 people in favor of this with some modifications, and I have some reservations, but it's going to pass regardless. And I have 4 reservations. I didn't get an answer to a question when I asked Major Butler of how many additional officers we would have to hire to sign these speed tickets. So be prepared, council, for the police department coming in and saying, we're signing a lot of tickets. We need more people to sit at a desk and sign tickets. And every officer we bring on is at least 100,000 a year with a car, a gun, a vest, and a sworn officer. They sit at a desk and sign tickets. Yes.
I got another note here. In my conversation with Chief Alston, I talked to him about how would we interpret how the vendor is going to validate or the officer going to validate what's considered an infraction, whether it's running the stop sign or going over the white line. And he told me that that would be spelled out in the contract business requirements. And so I would like to get some confirmation of what the business requirements for the interpretation of the video, evidence is, and how are we going to find, because the law says you have to stop before the white line, okay? And when I raise, is every little inch over the white line going to generate a validated ticket? Chief Alston mentioned the contract business requirements would spell out what would be determined to be a violation. And again, if we're going for safety and not revenue generation, I would like them for those business requirements. I mean, this is part of the chief's area and judgment, but I would like for the city and the residents to know what those business requirements are going to be.
Okay? My list was 4. One is I don't know how many officers we're gonna hire, and we haven't been given any information on that. Second is that we don't have any data on the 14,000 violations that occurred in 2 weeks of how many of those posed no public safety risk. And I'm referring to taxi cab stops, I'm referring to people who almost stop and nobody's there and it's clear. There's really no risk there. And those people are gonna be hit with fines. And I'm uncomfortable with that aspect of it. We didn't really get an answer on what to do with school buses. The police waved the school buses through the stop signs and everyone's going to get a ticket. And Chief Austin said he'll think about it, but he hasn't told me what he's gonna do with it. We have to go to the county and waive all those tickets, I guess. And I don't remember the number right now, but the revenue projection seemed unusually high.
850,000.
Yeah, compared to what the vendor told us how the process works. And I didn't do the math, but it just seemed unusually high. So it won't do any good to vote against it. I think this has been seen as a way to enhance public safety overall. And I know we have stop sign runners, and I know people who talk to me, tell me I shouldn't vote against it. So we'll probably pass this. Let's see how it plays out. That one we'll vote on Wednesday night, Alicia, okay? Let's see, stop sign, bond initiative and earmarks. You have 10 minutes, but you can do it in 3, right?
Yes, so, Senator Washington and, Ashanti Martinez, Delegate Ashanti Martinez had a webinar or Zoom meeting last week, just going over the, 2026 legislative last one.
Yeah.
So I included that in the package for everyone to have, but just so everyone knows, we did receive $250,000 for Harlan Street. We didn't receive any money for, the Hanko building. The Boys and Girls Club did receive $1 million to, build a building. Now, that was actually slotted for Beckett Field. So we're actually trying to see if we can do the building at Harlan Street. Along with that conversation would be to see if Senator Washington can move the 250 that got moved to the Hanko building back to Harlan Street. So then that way we would have the 250 that we received this year, the 250 that we received in 2023, plus the $1 million that would fill the pool, put a building up. And so we're talking right now to the Boys and Girls Club and their contractor, and they're evaluating the land along with CPJ, the engineers.
Okay, it is 8:08. Keep that in mind if you comment on this. Any comments, Cynthia?
The only comment I would have, just say, my neighbor, a friend of mine lives over in Harlem Street, and asked me to ride by it. What were you all trying to do when you all did? What was the purpose of those little planting things and stuff there? And the bamboo is still growing up all over there? I just was curious
I didn't hear what was the purpose of what?
the
The renovation, so to speak.
Yeah, the renovations you all did, it's like, I was shocked because I kept hearing how they would have flowers and this. So when she comes, she said, what's that time you rode down my street? And I'm riding down the street, it's like, yeah, it was shock on my face because I just thought they was gonna have flower pots and we need to do something. We're not finished.
Oh, no, we're not.
Lincoln.
Mr. Chair, the only thing I'll say is I was a little disappointed we didn't get any money for the Hanko building, but I'm grateful for what we did receive.
Hey, Brianna.
I'm very excited about, especially for the Boys and Girls Club. It's amazing. I think that's a good property to put that facility at. And now, given Ann Healy's retirement and Nicole Williams' departure from the state legislature, our delegate is the senior delegate of the delegation now. And I hope that that means that we get more money, because we used to have a delegate from Hyattsville, a delegate from Greenbelt, a senator from Greenbelt, and then Mr. Martinez being kind of the low man on the totem pole. Now we have our delegate as the senior delegate. I hope that translates into more money next year.
I'm sorry, I need to repeat what I think I understood.
Oh,
Okay.
It's because in my head. The money the boys, the money that the boys and clubs got is not the city. It's to build something in our park. vetted yet.
They got $1 million.
Okay. And we would allow them to use our city lot.
They would have, it would be, yeah, it would be our build, it would become our building. They would lease it from us because it's our property. And so there would be an indefinite or 30-year, I think is what they talked about, a 30-year lease.
But the money they got would be all the buckets that they would have of money. So they wouldn't come to the city to say, oh, we want to build a 1.2 million,
No, we would work on a budget that,
what they have.
yes.
Okay. And would that building be available for other residents' activities besides the boys?
As long as it's not during the Boys and Girls Club operating hours.
And so we got 250 for Harlan Street
Mhm.
and 250 for Hancock the previous year. And now
So,
we're flipping.
so we had 250,000 for Harlan Street. Under the prior administration, they asked for that 250 to move to Hanco. So now I have 250 sitting at Hanco. I can't do anything with $250,000. So I want to go back to Senator Washington and figure out how to get on my hands and knees and say, please, can we move that 250 back to Harlan Street? So then that way we would have 1.5 to put onto Harlan Street.
Ah, okay, that's where I did not connect to that.
Mhm.
So the 500 that we kind of have of our own combined with the 1 million
Mhm.
for Heartland
Yes.
and Hancock just sits there.
For now.
Well, so I have put in a $2 million earmark with the feds. And so they did email us saying, okay, you all didn't get the 4 million from the state. Can you still use the 2 million? Of course, we will repurpose and redo what we want to do. Yes. So I've told them, so hopefully we're still in the running for the $2 million earmark for the Hancock.
Also, thank you. Senator Washington in your house.
Yes, and they all come to my house on May 30th at 10 a.m. and thank Senator Washington, be really salutatory so that maybe he'll let us move that money back. Because I know it was a pain for him to move it the first time.
Okay, and I would be thrilled to see something happen with Harlan Street, so hopefully the things can be consolidated and an effort can be made on Harlan Street. It's a great location for a Boys and Girls Club also.
Yes.
Let's move on to Madam Mayor, and we have two people in here tonight, the mayor and Maisha. I spoke with Leroy today, but he said he wasn't coming tonight.
Yeah.
So there were Public Works visiting with him. Madam Mayor, and all yours.
All right, good evening, everyone. I just wanted to say for the Hancock Street, that 250,000 during my first administration, I single-handedly wrote that grant to get some help for the people on Harlan Street. So we wouldn't have to be doing special taxing or reimbursement for taxes paid over on Harlan Street. So I was shocked to see that it was moved to the Hancock building for no apparent reason, because nothing was done with it at the Hancock building. So rather than us losing that money, I told Maisha we need to move it right back to Harlan Street and get something done with the other 250,000 that we got for this administration. But Harlan Street has been a sore topic for a long time. We've cleaned out the bamboos and everything is all grown back. We have to give the people on Harlan Street better. They deserve better. So it's about time we just stop talking and we start acting and making sure that something is done with Harlan Street. I also wanted to say that the Revenue Authority came into the city and met with myself and Chief Alson about partnering to be able to come in and give tickets. We're trying to get them to stay out of New Carrollton, but unfortunately, as they are watching our meetings, so every move that we make, they know what to carefully make their moves afterwards. Just wanted to give an air of caution about the changes in the fees and the fine, because the moment that we lower the ones here in New Carrollton, Prince George's County, their plan is to come in and start enforcing their fines, which is actually higher. So I just wanted to just put it out there. I mean, you guys gonna do whatever you wanna do, but I'm just telling you, Prince George's County is waiting on the edge of the fence to come in. And there's nothing we can do about it, because I saw them in the city
week after week. And I said, what are you doing in here? We have our own parking. And they want a piece of the pie. And we can't stop them from coming into New Carrollton, just to let everyone know. So even if we lower our fines, then they're just gonna swoop in like a vulture. Just giving you the heads up. But they're patiently waiting.
Mayor's Court.
And then the chiefs about the animal.
In your packet, the chief did give some answers to some of the questions that Lincoln, he was the only one that, sent in questions for the animal control. So the chief gave, a response to the, questions, Lincoln, and it's in the packet. Not quite sure if
Page
You
number
want-
43 of 198.
43 of 198. I don't know if you wanna also talk about it.
I got some
I know
experiences
I know I got a
firsthand.
call from you guys over the weekend
43?
about,
43.
dead animals like in your shed.
Yes.
So on, Prince
It was very
George's
gross.
County, on the weekend, Nelly does not work. Prince George's County is the one that you would call.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, they didn't come out until today.
They came today, yeah.
Yeah.
But they got it. It was a cat. It was gross.
So the first one was, what is the policy of standard practice for dealing with an unleashed dog that poses a threat to our residents? And the second one was, who or what phone number should a resident call if they encounter a loose dog after hours during the week or on weekend? Calls for services after hours during the week or on weekends are handled by Prince George's County Animal Control. They can be reached at 301-780-7200. How do you dispose of a dead animal on your property? Dead animals located on private property may be disposed of through the Prince George's County Animal Shelter for $25. This service is currently not provided directly by the City of New Carrollton due to resource limitations. Providing this service would require equipment such as a freezer for temporary storage, as well as contracted company to remove and properly dispose of the animals once storage capacity is reached. Additional funding would need to be allocated in order for the city to provide this service directly to our residents. Number 4, is there anything in the current animal control code you would like the council to address? More specifically, are any of them outdated and in need of revision? The city's animal control code should be reviewed and updated to more closely align with Prince George's County standards, but it should not simply copy the county code in its entirety. Certain provisions such as adoption processes and other functions handled at the county level may not be appropriate or necessary for inclusion in the city code. Instead, the city should adopt and incorporate only those sections that apply to municipal responsibilities while maintaining local control where needed. And in terms of the loose dog, the answer was reports involving unleashed owned dogs and cats are handled on a case-by-case basis by animal control. Animals are evaluated based on their behavior and the circumstances of the incident. Since a dog may be perceived as aggressive by one person, but may not actually pose a threat, then assessed by officers. If a resident feels threatened by a dog, they should call 911 immediately. Residents should also remain aware of their surroundings and, if possibly, safely avoid interaction with the animal. Running from a dog may cause the animal to react or approach out of fear or instinct. In many cases, dogs running at large are fearful rather than aggressive. For example, in the past 3 years, Nelly Ortiz has not encountered confirmed aggressive dogs running at large, but rather dogs that were friendly or fearful. If a dog attacks a person or another animal, victims are required to submit a written statement and incident report. The case is reviewed by the Prince George's County Animal Control Commission, which determines whether the animal is considered dangerous and whether it should be removed from the home or subject to other restrictions. Hope that solves some of the animal control issues that we do have.
And my issue, you have no report?
The administration report is in the packet, right?
Okay. Sorry to the council. Okay, Cynthia, I'm gonna let you go first, because did that answer all your questions on loose dogs? Are you and John Weisenberg happy?
I have a picture of one dog. I was walking one morning with that very something to do. And this dog actually followed me around the neighborhood. And when I asked the neighbors how often this happens and who the dog belongs to, they say people moved and left the dog. But every time they went to approach the animal control person, she puts the window down and tells them to call it in instead of coming to see the dog. That's the reason I wanted her here. Like, if they're trying to get your attention to do it, and you're telling them to call it in. That's the reason I kept asking for her to come in. And if you ever read her monthly reports, she gives you 10 days of stuff she did. And it's 30 days in a month. My question is, she's making $80,000. She should be part-time. I'm just saying. She says she has to come in early to get the cats. So after you get the cats by 11 o'clock, what else do you do? And I asked for a copy of her PD, job description, because the ex-animal control person we had not only did animal control, he also wrote tickets. And he was famous for being around at the old shoppers and people that park by the yellow line. You get out, by the time you get out your car, he'll show you his ticket book. And there's nobody there now. And you can go around there, there's a nail store, chicken place, and they all park there. And they go in there and leave their lights blinking. Nobody saying anything to them. And I didn't understand why she didn't pick that up. Why she is not being asked to do what the ex-animal control person is, and she's making more than that person. That's what I was curious about.
Those are good questions, but I would ask us to hold off on the salary comments until we hear from BRC.
Well, I'm not talking about.
Well, you did mention salary,
Yeah,
but, okay, but the other comments are serious concerns. And I know I didn't only hear from you, I heard from John Wisen, but we did from the meetings. Lincoln, are you okay with what you're hearing?
For the most part, yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor, for addressing my questions. I appreciate it. I have some other questions about some other items though. Any update? I keep asking every meeting, any update on Shopper Sewer House?
You're changing from animals to food warehouse, okay.
Yeah. I'm going through my list. All right, and I noticed that there's an increase in the usage of the room here in the municipal center. I think that's outstanding. Is it also advertised in the newsletter and on the website that it's available to be rented out? If
Oh, we
not,
can do that.
I would recommend this.
We've been doing a lot of advertisement to increase the rental of the multipurpose room. I know we have reached out. We also have a church group that comes here that we amalgamate all the churches in the area once a quarter. And we have put it out that the room is available for renting. And I know one church has already been renting it at least twice a month. So the revenue has been
The other
increased.
night, I couldn't even find a place to park because I hear there was a wake or something going on.
Yes.
In the actual.
That was for Coach Watson's daughter that
Oh,
passed.
sorry to hear. Sorry for his loss.
So the word is going out and we are trying to work with both residents and non-residents to use up the hall. We just got to realize that once we open up the place to rent, we have to have a security guard here or a police officer. So the price of the rental does include overtime for those people.
Awesome.
So it's not like a profit.
Profit, you're not making, I get what you're saying. Thank you, Madam Mayor. And on the recycling report, I think it's for Public Works, I know that no one's here, but maybe we can get someone's email. I noticed the recycling tonnage was 0 for March. I'm not sure what page that is.
Does it have a page number? No, it doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't have like this.
No.
I'll check on that,
Yeah, if you could.
because I know that's not true.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, I didn't think it was. I think
my
it was-
house
I thought-
alone.
I thought it was a typo. Just if you gave back to me, Maisha, on that, I'd appreciate it. That's all I just.
Brianna, you have anything to add?
No, I just wanted to make sure that Araceli Guzman gets her flowers now for all the things that I've seen her doing in the community, all the community events, the volunteer appreciation night, the efforts to get folks educated about ICE enforcement. I'm hearing her name in the community, and I think that she's not here tonight, but please convey to her that like
she's making a difference. And that's the exact thing that I had hoped for her when she transitioned into that role. I think she's doing a great job. I also have a question that I asked this during our budget marathon. If we could find the number of households who are actively doing compost, not people who are signed up for it, but people who actually are putting out compost weekly, and how many we're picking up. I'm just kind of curious to know what that is, because I don't know that this is necessarily a beneficial program any longer. I know that I haven't been, so I'm on one of the 97 or so that are signed up for it. I haven't put out compost in 9 months. So if you could just get that number for us, the actual, you know, and I know it could vary from week to week, but how many households are routinely putting out compost? Because I know that that's an additional, they pick that up separate. They come another round. And so it's not, yeah, but then that's not composting. If you just throw it in the trash, that's, which is why I stopped putting my compost out, because I witnessed them doing it so many times. And for me, to have fruit flies in my kitchen, to have to touch gross things that don't get eaten in my house, it wasn't worth it any longer. So I'm just curious what that number is, so that, because if it's not being used, we shouldn't be, the city shouldn't be paying for it any longer.
Okay, tool design should be here in 4 minutes. I'm gonna move on to Ms. Agnelli. Do you have anything to add to this conversation? The mayor's report or?
Not the topics that have been addressed. I wanted to talk about the vacancy report. And the
Page 40.
city manager, the department head salary situation, that now that we have resolved the director of public works, we would like to hear a way of resolving the issue and the department head salary budget line item for the city manager. At some point, we would like to hear a proposal from the mayor or the city manager on how to resolve that sooner rather than later, because by my calculations, the money run out soon. But in specifically addressing the vacancy report, I have one comment. The administrative assistant position in public works was requested as an exception several months ago, and is still vacant. Is now without a director of public works. Is that position even more critical? And it was supposed to be critical, and that's why you asked for exception.
I had addressed that before, that the position for public works, Maisha came up with the idea to do the AI software to integrate with OpenGov to actually receive the calls. So I had told you the last time that we will not be doing the assistant for public works will not be employed, and the money has been allocated to help with
Yes,
the AI.
I remember you mentioning
Okay.
that.
So
I
it still
wanted
remains the
to
same.
Do follow up, even the situation that there's no director of public works. They
Still remains the same.
Okay,
Thanks.
so that brings me to two vacancies that I would like to suggest that the council, I don't know what's the proper process, but consider even sooner rather than later, providing the exception to the hiring freeze for the position of director of public works and the position of city clerk.
The position of what?
Those two
Right,
positions
yeah.
are critical for the operations of the city. And I don't know, do we move by resolution? Do we just vote on it? So they can engage the director of HR and start posting those positions.
I didn't hear what you said, director of public works. I didn't hear the second one.
City clerk.
Yeah, the exception. Normally, we would expect you to come and ask for the exception. I'm saying, if we all agree, or it needs to be discussed, how critical those two positions are.
So, as I said in the last meeting, if the director of public work position was that critical, there wouldn't be a hasty chase to remove the director of public works. And I'm saying, as a mayor for the city, I will not be employing anybody else until BRC comes back with their thing, because there's no point of hiring somebody for you guys to push them out with lowering costs or challenges. If those positions were that critical, those people would still be here today.
I'm not
Thank you.
stating that again, but okay, so we would consider have that renting and section until we have some budget guidance on DRC. That'd be a while down the road. Okay.
Well, June 8th. It's like 3 weeks from now.
June 8th.
I have
Thanks.
problems with that date because
Okay, it's 8:30. I'm gonna cut conversation. Our guests should be arriving. Let me ask you to do items number 14 and 15. Are there any comments? Item 14 and 15 on the agenda are the bills for April and the minutes. Does anybody have any comments? We can knock those out fast.
There are no minutes in the packet.
Okay,
I'm trying to find them.
okay. So those will be looked at for Wednesday. And any bill comments on the bills?
No comments,
Did
Mr.
anybody
Chair.
go through the budget versus actual? I mean, I went through it. It looks like we're on target for most things except for some things we talked about. Any comments on the budget versus actual? Fiscal year winds up in June. Tool
No, but
design-
it's 8:31.
The tool design should be here.
He's already on.
They're on, yeah.
Oh, they're on? Okay,
Yeah,
then
he's
we're
on.
gonna move on. I thought they were coming in person.
Yeah.
Yeah, welcome. Very good. So if you have the packet, it's this item right here on page 77. What tool design plans to do. We got through that agenda. Okay? With help from you. Okay, can we hear them? Can they hear us?
Yeah, no, I can hear you.
Okay,
Can you
good.
hear me?
Yes, welcome.
Welcome. Thank you for having me. I'm Jim Elliott from Tool Design. I'm the project manager for our team. And I wanted to just give you a status update on the project that we're working on, provide an overview of the safety action plan if you need it. I don't know to what extent you've had an opportunity to read through the document, but maybe when we get to that stage, you can tell me whether you need an overview or not. And then mainly I'm here to receive your input on the safety action plan, respond to any questions you have, and reiterate the next steps. I have a presentation that I'll try to share here. I'm not that familiar with,
It's the laptop
Yeah.
with the little arrow up.
yeah, I have to change my system settings. Okay,
Yeah, you may
hang
just
on.
hover down, like hover your mouse down towards the bottom. That might be, it might pop up.
Yeah, I see it. It's just I'm on a Mac and I need to update my system settings. Okay. So what I'll need to do is quit and reopen the browser that I'm using. So I'll be back momentarily. I'm sorry for the delay.
No worries. That always happens when I get on a Zoom call. I always have to update my Zoom every time I have to get on a Zoom call. They don't do it at all. Yeah, I use Google. The AG's office uses Teams. Yeah.
Jim, you're muted.
Yeah, I could hear you beautifully before.
It should be a mic across the bottom of your screen.
Well, you're on a Mac, so I'm not sure.
unmuted?
No, we can't.
Yeah, not with Google Meets. It's so fun.
The person has to unmute themselves.
A weird feature in Google Meets. So, I didn't get to read this verbatim. I just kind of skipped over.
And Macs are so good.
They are weird.
But they're good.
But when you get used to it,
Yeah.
and you like get on a PC, you're like, I don't know.
Yeah, they're incredible if you know the tricks.
Why you got no tricks? Why not move to a personable machine?
Because life is not like that.
Like I can never leave Apple products. I don't know how. Someone hands me an Android phone. I'm like, what is that?
Yeah, the people who know how to do it.
So if I have a minute here, I'll just recap that we have 3 resolutions for Wednesday night, and we're only gonna vote on one. We're gonna vote on the constant rate, okay?
Hi,
Welcome back.
everybody. I apologize. When I rejoined, I wasn't able to unmute myself, but I by closing again and rejoining, I was able to do that. Let me try sharing my screen. And I'm going to share screen. All right. You'll see the agenda first, but I'm going to open up a PowerPoint to show you. Hang on.
It would be cool if Jasmine was able to make it to
Hi.
okay. And have like one screen be the presentation.
Can everybody see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you very much for your patience. I apologize. So this just reiterates what I just said, that my goal here is to provide you with a status update on the project, an overview of the safety action plan if you feel like you need it. I know that the action plan was distributed to you all a couple of weeks ago, and I don't know whether you've had an opportunity to review it. But if that would be helpful, I can provide an overview. And then I want to receive any input you have on it and answer any questions that you have. So to begin, I just wanted to show you where we're at in the safety action plan or in the project process. And this is our schedule, and it shows overall that we're getting near the end of this project. We've done a lot in a very short time. We got going really in December or so with our first mayor's. Yes.
You moved the Google Meet to a small window on top of. Yeah.
There we
I
go.
apologize. Okay. Gotta move it over here. All right. I didn't know that would show up. Thank you. Yeah, so the project started in December. We had a meeting with the mayor's council at that point to provide some initial information about the project. We had 3 additional meetings with the mayor's council traffic safety subcommittee. We also held 2 public meetings, one of which was focused on existing conditions, the second of which was to present the draft plan, the draft safety action plan. We did a community walk audit, focus on the intersection of Annapolis Road and 85th Avenue. We participated in the Senior Friday. We provided information about the plan to residents of New Carrollton through a food distribution event. And we also met a couple of times with both SHA and the county to let them know the project was underway and to share recommendations from the project. So I just want you to be aware of some of what we've done over the course of the project. As I said, we're getting near the end at this point, and there's some key dates to be aware of related to that. Whoops, click too far. One of them is that I believe it's the plan of the City Council to vote on the safety action plan on the 20th, and that's important because for the Safer Streets and Roads for All implementation grant, which we are helping the city to apply for, the city needs to have an adopted safety action plan by the date that the application is due, and that date is May 26th, so coming up very quickly after Memorial Day. So it's very important that the safety action plan be adopted. It does not mean that it can't be amended after that. In fact, there will be amendments, and we can make amendments through this project. We can clean up the formatting, make it look nicer. We can make other changes to it, but the the critical thing is that the city have an adopted safety action plan. And as I say that, I want to acknowledge that you've already committed to Vision Zero in an earlier resolution. So that was another key piece that the City Council has also already taken care of as part of its business. So I guess at this point, I wanted to just see and get verbal feedback, because I can't see people since I'm sharing my screen, whether it would be helpful if I provided an overview of the plan, or whether you would just prefer that I focus on answering questions that you have about it.
I prefer we go into questions because I know everybody has a lot, but do you folks need more of an overview? I've read through this. I got an idea what this is.
Honestly, I didn't have time to go through the document on
Okay.
the screen.
I
And
agree.
was having a paper to.
I skimmed it too. I think if you could just give us the top
Yeah.
note, yeah.
Yeah, I'll give you the high level overview of it, and then we can dive into questions. So this is how it's laid out with the major sections. So there's a section at the beginning about the city's commitment to achieving Vision Zero, or achieving zero fatal and serious injury crashes by 2040. So that includes the language that you adopted, talks about why the plan is needed, and incorporates some feedback from residents of the city of New Carrollton and others who travel through New Carrollton as part of that. There's a section on the groundwork for change that talks about other plans that have been developed that have addressed the streets in the city of New Carrollton. Also provides an overview of existing city policies, talks about who has been involved in developing the safety action plan and will be involved once the plan is adopted to implement it. Talks about key priorities and key needs. So that's the groundwork for change. And then the bulk of the action plan is in a section called Safety Strategy, and that includes 66 strategies that are a range of infrastructure, program, and policy recommendations that are organized into 20 goals and 5 focus areas. And then the final piece of it is a section on how the city will achieve Vision Zero. Talks about who will coordinate implementation of the plan, how the plan will be measured, what are the performance metrics, communicating progress, and then how residents of New Carrollton can help. So now I'll provide a high-level overview of the safety strategy, and I'll try to keep this relatively brief. As I mentioned, it's organized around 5 focus areas, and those are tame the big roads, connect the city, ensure safe school travel, connect the city to the region, and enhance safety citywide. So to give you an idea of what's in the tame the big roads section, this is really about the 5 biggest roads in New Carrollton, the ones that account for the vast majority of crashes. I think it's 75% of fatal and serious injury crashes in the city of New Carrollton are on these 5 roads. So that's why it's such a focus. So one of the goals related to Annapolis Road is to make it more of a main street. It acknowledges, the plan acknowledges that Annapolis Road is effectively the city's main street as it is, but it doesn't function well as a main street for a variety of reasons. Partly because the road is trying to do 2 things at once. It's trying to convey large volumes of traffic through the city at high speed, and at the same time, the road provides access to shopping centers, grocery stores, restaurants, things like that. So the combination of high motor vehicle speeds and volumes and frequent driveways is a recipe for crashes. And we have a number of recommendations or strategies that are included in the action plan that are intended to address the issues on Annapolis Road. They include things like lowering the speed limit, widening the sidewalks, and providing buffers, or adding protected bicycle lanes or shared use paths, reducing the number of driveways and signalizing major entrances, improving pedestrian and cyclist safety and access to shops. Across the parking lots, there were several injury crashes in the parking lots. And if you look at those parking lots, there are no separated facilities for pedestrians. Pedestrians have to walk down the driveway, through the drive aisle. So there are recommendations to provide better pedestrian access with redevelopment. So that's an overview of some of the strategies that are included in the plan related to Annapolis Road.
Mr. Chair, can we interrupt with questions as they come up?
Jim, you want us to cut you off for questions? You want to complete your?
Absolutely, that's fine. If you have questions, yes, I'm happy to answer them as we go.
There's lots of questions, but Brianna has some right now that's on topic. So go ahead, Brianna.
Are you aware of what limitations we have as a municipality, as Annapolis Road is a state highway, in terms of, are we permitted to reduce speeds? Are we permitted to put islands in the middle of that are traffic calming? What restrictions do we have as a municipality to employ some of these things just for Annapolis Road specifically?
Yeah, we recognize that the city has those limitations, and that's why we've had conversations with the SHA. And as part of the SS4A implementation grant, what we're proposing is a road safety audit. So this is where key stakeholders would evaluate, would walk Annapolis Road, evaluate it. There would be some additional safety analysis done in advance of that, traffic analysis as well. Then through that process and additional engagement, the proposal for the implementation grant that we're applying for, that the city is applying for, would be to develop a 30% design with the state's concurrence. So the city would not be constructing anything on Annapolis Road. It would be coordinating with the state to assess what can be done on Annapolis Road and develop a 30% design for it, with the idea that the state would implement that design down the road.
How has this worked with, I know you guys worked with Hyattsville in Route 1, which has similar but not exactly the same issues. I mean, I think people drive faster on Annapolis Road than they do on Route 1 in Hyattsville. Did you encounter any challenges working with the state when you were working with Hyattsville?
I didn't work on that project, so I'm not familiar with any challenges that may have come up in the course of that project. But I think we've tried to be very careful about involving the state in the case of Annapolis Road and bringing them along. We have asked them to provide a letter of support for the grant application, and they have indicated that they are going to provide one. So I think it's an indication that that they're willing to partner on this and explore ways of making Annapolis Road a better main street for the city.
Perfect. Yeah, I think we want to do everything that we can that's in our power, because involving the state just slows everything down. So thank you for that.
Right.
Okay. Go ahead, Jim, with the overview.
Okay. So the next road on the list is the next big road on the list is Riverdale Road. And this is a road that between Annapolis Road and Lamont Drive carries relatively limited traffic, 13,000 vehicles according to the state's data, and has 5 lanes of traffic, 2 in each direction, and I think a center turn lane, which is really more than you typically need for that volume of traffic. So I think one of the things that we're thinking about here is the potential to reallocate roadway space in a way that provides more space to pedestrians and cyclists, and makes it possible to create safer crossings. Currently, pedestrians who are crossing Riverdale Road are crossing multiple lanes of traffic in each direction at uncontrolled intersections in some cases. They often also cross at uncontrolled and unmarked locations because there are bus stops on either side of the road. So there are a variety of recommendations that we developed for a Riverdale Road strategies that are included in the action plan. And again, as with Annapolis Road, these would be handled in the grant through a road safety audit, additional engagement, and development of a 30% design. So we're recognizing again that the city doesn't have the authority to implement changes directly on Riverdale Road, but we're initiating a process through the implementation grant application to develop a design that can be implemented by the county.
Quick one. You have mentioned 30% design a couple of times. What does that refer to?
It refers to a detailed concept design. So many of the key elements that would be needed for construction would be provided, or like key dimensions would be provided in the concept. But it's something that could be changed at a further date, because there are a variety of additional details, such as where water is going to flow, and things like that. I am not an engineer, that need to be worked out at a later point. Where the electrical lines will go if you're putting in a new signal. That kind of thing isn't typically addressed at the 30% stage. It's more about showing the physical dimensions of the street, where curbs are going to be, where crosswalks are going to be, that kind of thing. So it provides the basis for further stages.
Thank you, that helps.
So, and then the third one, actually, I'm gonna skip past this. The third one is Good Luck Road, and here we know that there's a current process to install bike lanes on Good Luck Road. We have included some strategies that we think could further enhance and build on what the county is already doing. Improving crosswalks across Good Luck Road, similar conditions in some ways to Riverdale Road, where you have uncontrolled crossings that are difficult for pedestrians to cross in some cases. And the process that we're proposing for that in the implementation grant application would be similar: an RSA, road safety audit, further engagement, and a 30% design. And then finally, 85th from Lamont to the Metro. This is a segment that is really important, and because it connects to the Metro partly. There's a lot of traffic next to the shopping center. It's very wide. So here again, we're talking about reallocated roadway space potentially, where it's got many lanes, but of course, you'd need to do traffic analysis in advance of that to determine whether that could be done. Making other changes along the roadway to slow down motor vehicle speeds and provide better spaces, better crossings for pedestrians and cyclists. So that's what we're doing there.
Jim, excuse me.
Mhm.
You said 85th from Lamont to the Metro. Are you including Westbrook in there? Is that the route you're talking about? Lamont?
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah, I realize that the Tame the Big Roads also addresses 85th, and that's the next slide. So I got ahead of myself. Lamont Drive also, we have a variety of strategies for Lamont Drive, including between Riverdale Road and Powhatan, thinking about reallocating space there because it's quite wide, doing things in other sections like reducing the curb radius so that people need to drive more slowly around turns, providing better crossings, marked crosswalks that are that include additional features to make it safer for pedestrians to cross pedestrian refuge islands, for example, or curb extensions. So I apologize for the confusion. I got ahead of myself. I can't see my own slides because I have this little window that is the Google Meet window over my slides. So I apologize.
You ready for questions?
Well, there's more to it than that. I could go breeze through the rest of it really quickly and then stop for questions, or stop now.
Oh, breeze through it.
Okay.
Not if I get a chance to read it.
Okay. All right. So yeah, and there's 85th. So the next focus area is related to connecting the city, and this is really focused on building better connections within the city, and a big part of that is bridging the ditches. So there are several recommendations related to that, improving the existing bridges and installing new bridges across the ditches, connecting the city to the city hall. There are missing sidewalk segments and other issues that make it difficult for people who are not in a car to get to the city hall from the main part of the city. Addressing sidewalk gaps citywide, that's covered in this particular section. Improving pedestrian and cycling infrastructure. So this section of strategies speaks to proactive sidewalk repair policies so that you're going out and inspecting sidewalks on a regular basis, zone by zone, so that you're not just reacting to reports from citizens, you're identifying those issues ahead of time. And then adopting supportive policies and procedures. One of the things that we've proposed is that the city develop a street design toolkit that it can use to apply things like crosswalk markings across the city. The existing crosswalks are quite narrow and they're not high visibility. So this would be a way for the city to signal and the design that it wants for crosswalks and other similar infrastructure. Let's see. There's a focus area related to schools. And so this is really about both improving infrastructure within the school zone with a focus on children and children's needs, and also developing their capacity to travel safely to school as pedestrians, cyclists, and users of other modes. So there are some programmatic recommendations or strategies in there. And then the final set of strategies centers around the focus area of enhancing safety citywide. one of the key ones, one of the key ones is to reduce motor vehicle speed. So we've included a strategy to reduce the citywide or the speed limit on local city streets to 20 miles per hour, as the city of Mount Rainier has done, as Washington, D.C. has done. 20 miles per hour is a much safer speed than 25 or 30 because the chance of a fatal or serious injury goes up dramatically as speeds go up. And it's not just that the impact is greater, but that drivers have a more difficult time avoiding crashes when they're going faster. There's a set of strategies that we call systemic strategies. These are relatively low cost strategies that can be implemented citywide. Strategies like installing high visibility crosswalk markings where there are crosswalks, expanding the automated traffic enforcement program in the city, and implementing no right turn on red and restrictions and leading pedestrian intervals, although we realize that those would require concurrence from the state or the county, since all signals are, I believe, in the city are owned or on county or state-owned roads. And then there are a variety of other strategies related to post-crash care and improving crash reporting. One of the things that we saw, for example, when we looked at the data, was that there wasn't, that in most cases, contributing factors were not filled out for crashes. It was simply listed as other. That's about 90% or 95% of crashes. So it's hard to say from crash data like that what factors may have contributed to a crash, and it makes it harder to identify the appropriate countermeasures to improve safety. And then there's one related to city vehicles. When the city purchases vehicles, taking that into account, incorporating side underguard, truck underguard rails to prevent a cyclist or a pedestrian from going underneath the truck. It's something that we recommended for Mount Rainier as well. So with that, I will, maybe I'll actually stop sharing and just respond to questions, and that way it'll make it possible for me to take notes too while I'm doing that.
And Jim, let me just start with one question. I'll let everyone else go before me, but what is the time frame for all these? A lot of things there. What is the time frame, and what is the funding for this? How is it going to be funded? Can you answer those two things quickly?
Those are good questions. If in the safety action plan, you'll see for each strategy that is included a mini table that includes the time frame within 5 years, 5 to 10 years, 10 to 15 years. Those are the time frames that we included in the action plan. That little mini table also includes potential funding sources. SS4A is not the only funding source that is available to make these improvements. The state has a variety of potential funding sources. There's some things that are really important, I think, in the city that can't be funded by SS4A. Things like improvements to the shared use path network. SS4A won't pay for that, but other sources of funding can. So we provide broad windows and thoughts about potential funding sources, other grant programs, and also indicate, of course, the ones that can be funded by SS4A.
Okay, no other council members, please. Do you have anything, Brianna?
My favorite question. Do you have any legislative proposals that you could offer the council that we could enact, or ideas that we could build upon so that we can update our code, other than reducing speeds, which was something that I was already thinking about?
Yeah, I think so. One of the recommendations is for the city to develop a traffic calming plan and policy. So this isn't necessarily a resolution, it's potentially a change to the city code. And what it would do is specify how citizen requests for traffic calming would be handled by the city, how they would be prioritized. And then the traffic calming plan would provide the framework for how the city would implement traffic calming measures such as speed humps over time, and what corridors would be prioritized first and second and that kind of thing.
Do you have any sample policies that you, from other municipalities you've worked with? Because this is definitely, I directed a resident on Nicholson Street to go to the police department, because that's what I thought was supposed, he was requesting a speed hump on a street. I thought that the right thing to do was to tell him to go to the police.
Mm-hmm.
I had been told by our previous police chief that you go to the police chief, they assign officers to that area, they do their own kind of analysis, and then they make a determination. But it's not really, like, we don't have a fixed policy, like you said, and I've gotten this request for so many residents, and I don't really know what to tell them. And, you know, this has not been a very policy-driven or legislative body. Like, in the history of the city, the code is most of it was written in 1973.
Mm-hmm.
If you could provide us with guidance, I definitely think we could do that. And I will be the first one to make a request for some type of traffic calming, something on Legation Road, because either more stop signs or speed humps or crosswalks, because people fly by, and I've had 3 side view mirrors taken off my car.
Mm-hmm.
And 3 cars taken off my car.
Yes.
Yeah, so what I could do is, I mean, there are a lot of jurisdictions within the area that have traffic calming policies. So I could share an example of a traffic calming policy. DC has one.
Yes, no, I think that would be good. And then, yeah, I think there's a lot that we can do municipally, but we were waiting for this guidance. We also do have a large pot of money to put towards a lot of these efforts. Especially there was still money left in our, what we called our ARPA money, which we incorporated into our budget. So there's money available to immediately implement on the recommendations that we can, while we wait on the state for the more, like, you know, complicated. And unfortunately, the roads where the highest safety hazards are the ones we have the least control over. But
Yeah.
so we can control, we can get this done in a year if we focus our energy.
Mhm.
It's absolutely necessary. Last question.
Sure.
There's a new school being constructed on Good Luck Road that is going to eventually absorb all of the students at Charles Carroll Middle School, Carrollton Elementary, and Robert Frost Elementary is no longer. So it is going to be Robert Frost Elementary. Was that analysis, was your analysis done with that in mind, in terms of the kids who will now become walkers that were previously bused, and the kids who are now going to be bused who were previously walkers?
Yeah, absolutely. That was one of the things we were thinking about when we made safe school access one of the focus areas. This opportunity that the city has to configure things so that children who are attending the newly built schools can access them safely, and, you know, definitely something that we're thinking about. In the implementation grant, what we are proposing is the development, or is a process that would involve engaging with the schools. We did try to engage with the schools through this process. We were unsuccessful. I think we happened to reach out to them at the wrong time, testing and spring break and that kind of thing. But in a further process that could be funded by SS4A, there would be outreach to the school communities, the school administrators in particular, and others within the school community, to understand what the needs are and safety concerns. There would be an observation of arrival and dismissal as part of that, to understand what conditions are like during those times. You know, you don't really get a very good sense of what things are like at schools unless you go out at you know, the peak times. And then there would be a process to develop recommendations and implement changes around schools that improve safety.
Thank you so much.
Agnelli.
I want to follow up on Councilmember Urbina about, there's 50 proposals. Some can be the cost is low, some are really high, but if you could give us a cheat sheet of what could the city do quickly and cheaply. Cheaply. Okay, because I raised this during our budget marathon about some of the funds undesignated to take immediate action in some of the proposals that we knew were coming. And so, yes, we need big grants for all these ideals, but a cheat sheet of maybe 10 things that could be achieved in 12 to 16 months within a range of costs that would help us sooner to consider within this budget year's process, and can also help plan next year while we work on the bigger grants.
Yeah, we can do that. We can use the existing tables, and there is a summary table at the end. There are two summary tables at the end of the safety action plan, one of which includes all of the strategies and the timeline, potential funding sources, etc. And then there's a within 5 years. We can break it down further and add another table that's within 2 years or something like that.
Well, there's like 10 or 11 pages in your summary.
Yeah.
So using your judgment and embedded knowledge of the full report, if I could identify 10 of what you say, if I had a little magic wand and a little bit of pot of money, this would be ideal to get the ball rolling.
Yeah, absolutely. We can do that.
And now, if we had a really big fairy godmother. Implement everything.
Yeah.
You don't need
how many millions total?
She's asking the question, like if we were to implement everything in here 100%, give us a ballpark number.
I don't know what that would be. It would be, multiple millions of dollars. We are developing cost estimates for the safety action plan, not the safety action plan, but for the implementation grant application. And preliminary estimates are 18 million. I need to talk to the engineers who developed the estimates. I think we need to probably dial that back to about 10, because that's the average award for SS4A implementation grants. So we're going to try to dial it back, but that includes just a subset of all of the recommendations. And then some of them, like Annapolis Road, for example, reconfiguring that, not in the city's power, and also a very expensive thing to do because it's such a big road. So, you're probably talking, I don't know, that's going to be a lot of money.
Okay, that's what I would like to get some wins.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you could limit the cheat sheet that Councilmember Malave is asking for to the roads where we have exclusive authority.
Yes, absolutely can do that. Yes. Yeah.
All right, Lincoln, I'm gonna ask you.
I'll be very brief. Mr. Chair, thank you, Mr. Elliott, for your presentation. Quick question for you. You mentioned road safety audits on the roads that we don't have control over, Annapolis Road, Riverdale Road. Would you recommend that we do to work with the state to get some type of leverage or process to move forward with the road safety audits in those areas?
So the question is about what we would recommend you do to, I think the state, we've reached out to the state and the county to tell them, to explain to them what we're including, what we intend to include in the implementation grant application, what the city intends to include. And we've talked with them about the road safety audits, and they have indicated that they're supportive. The state did. We're waiting to hear back from the county. part of the issue is just that it's a crunch and this was all, the conversation was all about getting a letter of support for those specific projects. So I think if that can be achieved and the city gets those letters of support, I think the state and the county will be on board once the grant comes in and there's funding available for the process.
Thank you, sir. I have no further
Welcome.
clear. Thank you.
Cindy, you're fine.
Mhm.
I don't want to prolong this, but I did want, there's something that's been going on for decades, Jim. That's the Eric Olson and Maryland National Park and Planning. Eric in his first term trying to connect New Carrollton to the rest of the bike world.
Yes.
You can't do it on Good Luck Road, and they talked about going over Briar's Ditch and heading over to the Anacostia, but that would involve tunnels and bridges, and there's no safe way to ride a bicycle. But you mentioned in here connecting. What are and that's outside the city, so you got to start talking about areas other than New Carrollton. That's a long-term goal, I guess, and you have ideas in that?
Yeah, that is included, and we had a separate meeting with Councilmember Eric Olson as part of the process that I didn't mention because we knew he had that that plan, and I mean that's one of the big opportunities that's out there for the city to connect it to this really incredible region-wide network of shared use paths that would connect it to University of Maryland, would connect it to College Park, places throughout the region. So it's a great opportunity. And we did include strategies around moving that particular idea forward.
Okay. And the last thing, I just made a note that on page 157 of our report, this report says the New Carrollton Police didn't share crash reports with you. Was that something that prevented you from making assessments? You didn't get crash data from our?
That is, we got all of our crash data from the state. I think we might have asked about crash reports, but it was the reason the police did not share crash reports is that there are privacy protections around those. So I don't think they were legally able to share the crash reports. It may be possible if they are scrubbed in some way of personally identifying information, but I believe that's the reason why crash reports were not shared, and that is not the reason that didn't hold us back. But there is an issue with the data that the state has. It's not as specific as we would like it, and we think that it might partly have to do with crash reporting, although that's something that probably need to confirm with the police department. I mentioned the issue with contributing factors not being indicated. Things like, whether the person was impaired, for example, or speeding. Some of that can be difficult to tell, but it's almost all of the crashes where there's no indication of what the contributing factor was.
Okay, well, look, Jim, we're going to wrap it up here. This is very comprehensive. This goes for 2 years, out to some places 15 years. It's a lot for us to think about. And I guess we have to give approval for this to go forward, and we'll be doing that on Wednesday night.
Yes.
But thank you for staying late with us. We conducted our business first and invited you a little bit later. And it's been very informative and helpful. You the questions, and I appreciate you being with us tonight. We're going to let you go. Okay?
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Wait, can he stay on to answer our questions
Well, that's getting kind of, you want to try an audience question?
in our remarks?
Well,
Sure.
we're gonna have public comments, okay?
Yeah.
That's the next part of the agenda. If you want to go to the podium and you want to address this, go up to the podium and do it. Jim will listen to our public comments.
Now?
Yes.
Right now, yeah. We just moved into the final part of the agenda, public
Okay,
comments.
cool. Yep, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
So I'm very much a proponent for making improvements on the streets. I'm just concerned that some of these suggestions are, I get that we're trying to make some concessions for pedestrians and especially cyclists. But some of the suggestions in regards to eliminating full lanes on roads like Riverdale that have city bus traffic. I'm concerned, number one, as to how that is going to disrupt the traffic, because although it's seemingly not as busy as Annapolis, it's still a busy connector road. especially during peak travel times. And as it is now, there, can still be when a school bus stops or when a city bus stops can be a bottlenecking of traffic. Also, in several places, I saw that you have slip lanes being eliminated on turns such as the one on 85th Avenue, as well as Annapolis onto Riverdale. I wanted to get more insight from you as to how that is going to improve the flow of traffic in New Carrollton as a whole. I feel like that will severely impair the traffic, especially that of coming off of 495. And also will cause more of a incident where it comes to merging off of that lane and having to come off of the highway, merge back into the traffic, come back off of it to make the turn on the 85th, especially if you're looking to enter into the shopping mall. So that's my first set of questions as to what the thought process is going into those suggestions.
Okay, let me see if anybody else. Thank you. Let's see if anybody else has any questions. Jim, take notes, and if we have time, we'll have you answer. Anybody else want to address?
Okay,
No?
so yeah, I
So
can
then,
ask two more.
so let him, go ahead, Jim, if you can give us a 3-minute response to that, we're gonna wrap it up here.
Yeah. So it's a good question, and we need to think about all users of the roadway. This particular action plan is focused on improving safety, and the key way to improve safety is to reduce motor vehicle speeds and provide safer spaces for pedestrians and cyclists. The recommendations that are in the action plan, the strategies, would require an additional process, and this is part of what is in the SS4A implementation grant. The RSA process would include a traffic analysis to understand what would happen to traffic if certain changes were made to the roadway. So these things are not going to go direct to implementation. There would be a further study process, further engagement before that happens.
Okay, so this is a preliminary study that you're saying?
Yes, that's right. This is a planning study. It's a plan, and as things move forward, there would have to be a traffic study to understand what happens to traffic. There would be multiple design phases, additional engagement. So this is really just the beginning of the process. Although I'll say that for Annapolis Road, Riverdale Road, and Good Luck Road, numerous plans have already identified many of the strategies that are included in this plan. So this is not the first time that they have been mentioned, and they have been mentioned at the state and the county level as well.
Okay. And then just another note, when you were talking about the crash reporting, I've had multiple car crashes that were not, I was given an incident number and there was no report taken. And in both those times, I believe that the person was outside or operating their vehicle outside the bounds of the law. But because my car did not need to be towed, I was told there was no report to be taken. So I think as far as what we could be implementing on a short term, having every crash incident be recorded with full detail. And I think that's also probably why we're having insufficient information.
Yeah, that's probably not a Jim question. That's an
That's
internal
it.
New Cops question.
Yeah.
Thank you for asking.
Thank you.
So, I'm gonna let us wrap up and ask Cynthia if she wants to have a motion to adjourn.
Well,
Do you have other comments, Brianna?
no, but we just received a piece of paper. Have you read it?
Yeah, I read that.
No, I haven't had the opportunity to read it.
Okay.
We can discuss that Wednesday night.
Yeah, I was gonna just say that we should address them.
Yeah, we should put that on Wednesday. Maisha and I will put the agenda together.
But I
for
think
Monday
it
night.
has to be in closed session.
Wednesday night, we're here.
In closed session.
We can move that in closed session. That's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
We can vote on
Thank you,
that.
Jen.
Okay.
Thank you.
Jim, thank you for staying up late with us.
Yeah.
You're welcome. Thank you for all you do.
Okay.
All right. Good night.
I move that we adjourn the Monday, May 18th, 2026, city council workshop meeting.
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Maisha, it's 5-0. We're out of here. Thank you, audience, for hanging in for Tool Design, but it was an informative
It was very
presentation, and
informative.
they have,
Yeah, they're cool.
yeah, they have some great